Welcome back, everybody, to the Renaissance Humanism podcast. Today's episode, I'll be discussing relationships, compatibility, and incompatibility. Will be the focus of this podcast. Beyond relationships, this information can be related to sexual relationships, loving relationships, family relationships, but the primary focus will be on long term relationships and particularly relationships in the first 6 to 2 years. But any information on this topic can also be applied to any other forms of relationship. Okay. Uh, Again, this podcast will focus on relationships, compatibility, and incompatibility, and this information can be related to dating advice or maintaining a relationship, being in a spiritual or sexual relationship. This information can even be used in long term relationships as well. Still, the primary focus is on relationships within the first 2 years, particularly during the dating stage. To understand a relationship and its compatibility, it's first necessary to understand the goals and purpose of each individual or organization regarding the fulfillment of their needs that need not to be felt. That's the need to be felt, the need to be heard, and the need to be understood. Furthermore, understanding each other's responsibilities and duties within any relationship is critical to establish compatibility and find out quickly whether the relationship won't work due to different priorities, philosophies, and cultures. This can relate to, again, relationships, to business, to any forms of lives, lifestyles, and various priorities. So that's going to be focused on romantic relationships. No matter how much you love someone, how much they ignite your passion, you cannot get over any incompatibilities because those differences get to the heart of who you both are. If one person is a Hindu and the other person is a Muslim, when it comes to having children, that will be a road that cannot be easily crossed. These incompatibilities should have been resolved during the first few months or even discussed during the first date. Once you start sleeping with someone and develop deep emotional connections, it becomes harder to dissolve the relationship because you're not monsters, you get attached. As human beings, we sometimes make the mistake of trying to make a relationship work where there are incompatibilities because we love that person. Love is not enough to keep a relationship, particularly a romantic one, functioning and building lives together. Due to loving that person, we try to keep and resolve the issues. All we are doing is talking ourselves into a deeper and deeper hole. The only solution is to realize what we are doing and climb out of that situation. Again, this is easier said than done, and that's why it's important when going into a dating that both parties are honest about their concerns and what they want for themselves and in any relationship, as well as any incompatibilities there might be. For instance, the celebrity couple Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner are getting divorced. This is a celebrity marriage, and the divorce is partly caused by Joe Jonas being an extrovert and Sophie Turner being an introvert or a homebody. If you are a person who enjoys spending time indoors, don't particularly like going clubbing and being around lots of people, then somebody who's opposite to your personality may very well be incompatible for a long term relationship or even in the short term. But we all make our own choices and we all have the right to fail as well. Even in the short term, you might feel loved, appreciated because they have something that you wish you had, which could be more extroversion and confidence. That's why when it comes to dating relationship, it's best to be honest with who you are and not who you think you are. Every person reading this, or listening to this, I should say, including me, has made those mistakes. And we all have the right to make our own mistakes. But to avoid any pain, any suffering, it's best to understand who you are and who the other person is to avoid any heartache. This part, I'll now be discussing sexual incompatibility. Men and women are different. We view sex differently, which means different things to different sexes. For men, sex can be an enjoyable activity, and for men, sex does not necessarily mean the establishment of a deeper human connection. However, it is contradiction to this that the only way man may get emotional connection is through sexual activity. This is a man seeking marriage counseling the common complaint for men is the lack of sex. For women to have sex, they must feel safe, feel heard, and that a deeper connection and bonding happens before sex. That's why the only way she can enjoy sexual activity is if there's already a bond with a man. On average, he is not bothered. When it comes to deciding when to have sex for a woman, it may be advantageous to wait a minimum of 3 months to get to know this person, to see how compatible or incompatible you both are. One factor also considered is in society's sexual norm as well, whether or not it's normal for your society for women folk to have sex on the first stage or the fourth date, and that men, when it comes to sexual activity, will operate in the social norms that are enforced by women. For a man dating a woman, she needs to feel safe, feel respected, and have romantic atmosphere. I'll not say love because you may already know this, but for a person to know less than a week or a maximum of 6 months is not enough to truly get to know somebody. It takes 2 years, if not longer, to generally get to know somebody. 6 months is not a lot of time, but there's no point in deluding each other that it's love. That does not stop a man treating a woman like a lady and being romantic. If you're dating with intention, this woman could be the love of your life, the mother of your children, or the last woman you ever sleep with. If that's the case, it's best to start on the right foot and start building the connection. Women do not deserve to be pumped and dumped by men. This is where a man sleeps with a woman but is never courted again. This is significant trauma for a woman, and any man wishing to pursue a successful relationship, sleeping with the same woman is best to make her feel safe and satisfied. That's why when you first get to know one another, you establish where you are going when you would like to have sex. There's no pressure, and you can generally get to know each other, get to know one another. For a woman, if you're not interested in the man in a sexual way, then leave the relationship because that way you're not wasting each other's time. And if you're not interested in a woman for a relationship and only for sex, leave her alone or establish straight away what you both want, what you're interested in, and just say you're only interested in a sexual relationship. You're not looking for a girlfriend, you just want to hook up. Just being honest with who you are to each other. Now, I will be discussing why men and women are different and also why it's important to have the talk during the first date or the first few months of relationships. Men and women are different. We have different interests. Men have higher testosterone than women, between 16 and 20% higher. Because of this, men can underestimate or overestimate a woman's sexual interest. And for women, it can be very scary that men are very much motivated by sex, wanting to have sex, and how it can be a key motivator for a man's life. Women can find that scary, can find intimidating as well. And also that men can keep overestimate a woman's interest as well, which can create friction and confusion. Also, women on average, they achieve orgasm within 8 minutes by self pleasure. With pleasure with a man who she doesn't know, who she doesn't feel safe, feel loved by, that can take about 14 minutes. 14 minutes, not 40, 14. For a man, he on average achieves orgasm within 5 minutes. This is the sexual mismatch, and that's something to be aware of as well, because you're both not quite compatible. For a man, if you see this woman, you don't know what she likes, she don't know knows what you like. At this point, after discussion, communicate as well. Also, to understand that pornography negatively impacts a man's attitude to sexuality, same with women as well. Because if you watch a lot of porn, what they're doing, they're getting position, their positioning is sort of camera angles. That's not how it works in real life as well. And that's something to be aware of, that both of you has watched too much pornography, seen too much pornography, or read too many romance novels, and you don't both understand the reality of the situation as well. And also that men and women have different psychologies as well. For a man, if he sees a problem, he wants to fix the problem. For a woman, she might want to actually just talk about the problem because women are better communicators. So if they see a problem, they'll talk about the problem, they go backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards. And something like that, it really frustrates the man, it causes him stress. But for a man, if you're aware that a woman, that's how they deal with problems, they just communicate the issue. They don't necessarily try to fix it. If you're aware of that, it will take a lot of stress off your back as well. So just to be aware that if a woman asks you that she has a problem, she just wants to talk. She don't want you to fix the problem, but if she does want to fix the problem, you've got to ask.